In his unique perspective on history, Pope Francis reflects on how the trials of human suffering induced by wars and economic turmoil have profoundly influenced his life and worldview. He perceives a cyclic pattern in history, where past events echo in the present. In his book, he emphasizes the necessity of forgiveness for the genuine cessation of any conflict, as without it, justice gives way to vengeance. At 87 years old, Pope Francis, despite enduring a plethora of health issues, adamantly asserts his commitment to his role as the head of the Catholic Church. He recalls being taken aback, like the rest of the world, by Pope Benedict XVI's unexpected resignation over a decade ago. Initially stunned, he later grasped the significance during the papal conclave when a fellow cardinal queried him about a false rumor concerning his health. David Gibson, a former journalist covering Francis, acknowledges the Pope's astonishment at his own elevation, emphasizing Francis's desire to underscore his ordinary human experiences. During his tenure as leader of the Jesuits in Buenos Aires, he recounts sheltering young men during Argentina's turbulent dirty war of the 1970s and advocating for the release of abducted priests. Francis confronts criticisms of his accessibility, asserting his pastoral duty to be among his people. He defends his decision to permit priests to bless same-sex couples while upholding traditional marriage doctrine, revealing his personal side. He discloses a past engagement and admits to being smitten with a woman during his seminary days, showcasing his humanity amid his religious calling. Through his memoir, Pope Francis endeavors to shape his own legacy, clarifying his intentions and actions as pontiff while injecting humor and humility into his narrative, reflecting on what might have been if he pursued his missionary aspiration in Japan. He acknowledges the complexities of Vatican dynamics and underscores his relatable human experiences. In essence, Pope Francis's memoir serves as a testament to his authenticity, demonstrating his commitment to bridging the gap between spiritual leadership and personal humanity.